and visions. The metro rail and buses will help with mobility, but sound urbanization needs policy reform. So the new constructions of a metro rail and also the addition of buses have been done, and these are obviously helpful for the mobility for the people or for the transport of the people. But sound urbanization needs policy reform. But a strong urbanization or a firm urbanization, um, it needs policy reform. It needs the development or it needs some changes in the policies. With a clear focus on expansion of metro rail and bus services through central funding, Budget 2021 has recognized a core component of urbanization. So, with a clear focus on expansion of metro rail. So, in this year, in the year of 2021, the main focus of most of the budget is to expand the metro rails of India. Um, and for that, it has recognized a core component of urbanization. So the expansion of metro rail, it was recognized as a core component, as the main component of this year's budget. Comfortable, safe, and affordable commuting has well recognized multiplier effects for the economy and more generally for public health. Although although COVID-19 has had the perverse effect of driving people away to the safety of personal car and two-wheeler bubbles. So comfortable, safe, and affordable. So that is what a metro rail is. It's comfortable, it is safe, and it's also affordable. Commuting has well recognized multiplier effects of the economy, but mostly all of the people before the pandemic they used to take the metro rails, but because of the fear of getting the or of getting or catching the virus, they're not people people are not preferring public transport as much as they used to do, and that's really a good thing, because that shows how strict the people are in following the rules. But um, but that's not actually good for the Indian budget, because that's going to decrease the Indian budget, and everyone is going to use their personal vehicles like cars and two-wheeler scooters. There is little doubt that when the pandemic is under control, more people will return to clean and green mass mobility. So even after the pandemic was complete, even after suppose that the pandemic is completed, now it is still a question mark that will the people still come will the people still be preferring the public transport, or will they still prefer the personal transport, because they still may have the fear of catching the virus. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's announcement of central funding of 1,957 crore rupees and 63,246 crore rupees and the 14,788 crore rupees for the Kolkata, Chennai, Bengaluru metro projects respectively gives these big cities greater certainty that they can meet targets. So the amounts of money which our Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, um, how much she spent on the development of the metro rails in these cities, Chennai, Bengaluru, Kochi, and etc. The amount of money or budget that will be spent on these metro projects is just ridiculous. A huge amount of money was spent, and even that's a good thing, because it says that our Indian government, it really wants to develop the metro rails of India. So because of such huge hopes, gives these big cities greater certainty that they can meet their targets. So because of the comfortable amount of the money uh, of the money which is put into the development of these metro rails, this gives each and every city hope that, yes, we can meet our target. Yes, we can complete the metro rail under time. Less certain, however, the impact of the proposed 18,000 crore rupees is plan to augment public bus transport using a PPP model that will enable private sector players to finance, acquire, and operate, maintain over 20,000 buses. So less certain, however. So we are very certain, or we are very sure most of the people in India, they have high hopes, and they are actually certain or sure that the metro rails will be surely developed. But the thing which everyone doesn't know for sure is that is public transport like buses, or the transports like that, will they be returned to the same condition? So that's the thing. Which is not about which we are not sure, because only 18,000 crore rupees are put into that. And also there's some kind of new system in which in which all the buses will be run by the private owners, and the number of buses are about 20,000 buses. India's ratio of buses to population is low, 1.2 per thousand people, compared to 8.6 in Thailand and 6.5 in South Africa. Although some states like Karnataka are well ahead of the national average, as per the NITY Ayog data. So, an unfortunate thing is that in India, for thousand for in India, for thousand people there is only one bus. But in the countries like South Africa and Thailand, there are about 8.5 or 6.5 buses for each of them. So that's a very unfortunate thing. But one good thing is that the 1.2 per thousand people is just the average of any country. Here it is the average of India, and 6.5 and 8.5 are the averages of Thailand and South Africa. So as I said, 1.2 is the average of India. That piece of information does not mean that every state in India has poor quality of have poor quality of bus transportation. When we take example the state of Karnataka, it's well ahead of the national average. It might have some five buses per thousand people or something like that. Licensed private urban buses services remain a politically sensitive topic in many states, where state monopolies coexist with unregulated paratransit, and it will take a major effort to convince them that a bus renaissance is good post-pandemic recovery strategy. So, license, so we the Indian government, it is taking care of the public transportation, but there are some other people who run their own who run their own who run their own bus business, private owners. So it is very hard to convince these private owners that even you need to look into developing your business, or your bus infrastructure and so on. And it's not it's very hard it's very hard to convince them that in an era which is post pandemic, means which is taking place right after the pandemic, an improvement in the overall bus station, or the overall bus transportation and infrastructure would be a good strategy. So it's very hard to pursue the it's very hard to convince the private owners that even you need to make some developments in your own bus infrastructure. The amended motor vehicles law has provisions for the center to take the lead here. And few days ago, we have also discussed the new motor vehicle law. And that law it basically states that if anyone has a vehicle which is older than 15 years, they'll be getting a higher tax of about 25%. So nobody wants that. So they should either scrap their car, and they should buy a new car, or they could only use the public transport. And here the government takes the lead. So because of that, more people, if they're afraid of paying more tax and buying a new vehicle, then the probability of the people using the public transport is very high. And that's a very good thing, because the government is also implementing or developing the metro rails all over India, and also the bus station and bus transportation facilities all over India. So when these people shift to public transport, I'm sure that all of them will be very satisfied. The challenge of urbanization goes beyond standalone interventions, such as metro and bus system grants. State governments, which retain effective control over the urban development rather than city administrations, have failed to operationalize the umbrella authorities to regulate transport. So, the state governments, which retain effective control over the urban development rather than city administrations. So, the state governments or the parties of the or the central or the state party or the party which is ruling the states. So those type of governments, they usually have more control over the whole state than the administration of one single city. And even though it has that much of control over a particular piece of area, it has still failed to operationalize the umbrella authorities to regulate transport. It was not able to control the transport in the during the pandemic. Common mobility cards that would help citizens use bus, train, and feeder networks seamlessly were largely in pilot project mode even before the pandemic. Common mobility cards that would help citizens use bus, train, and feeder networks. So the state government, it actually had some plans and schemes to encourage or to motivate the people to use the public transport. But even though they knew the strategy, or they even though if they knew the plan, they did not come forward and they did not implement it. There is valid criticism that the existing paradigm is one of the exclusionary urbanization, which makes metro and bus services expensive for the majority, particularly for those forced to live in the suburbs due to housing costs and sometimes making the per kilometer cost of using a two wheeler more attractive. So, for some people, the ticket prices of the metro rails and the bus, they would be costly because they might be in the hard because they might be facing hard times and hard challenges because of the post pandemic era. So that makes them the cost of the petrol of their own vehicle or their EMT, the cost of the metro rail ticket would make their one private transport look better. So they all of them would probably opt for going to their private transportation. They lack access to funding, infrastructure, and capacity to meet the needs of large populations even now. Um, so the states, they lack access to funding. They also lack access to infrastructure and capacity to meet the needs of huge populations even now. So the states in India, the state governments of India, they have been doing the job since many years, and even now they are not able to tackle one of the major problems of our country, having a control over the huge population. So our population is rapidly growing. India is currently the second most populated country in the world, and that's why we're facing this problem. And the state governments, even though they have lots of experience, they're still not able to manage this problem. Enhanced ambition therefore requires the center to work with the state governments to integrate key areas with its transport vision, such as affordable inner city housing, including rental projects, access to civic services and healthcare, and enhanced sustainability, greenery, and walkability. So basically, the center this year, it's trying to turn India to a very successful country. It's trying to turn India into a developed country from a developing country. So, in order to achieve its goal or its aim, the center, it must work in cooperation with the state government. Then it can surely achieve its goals of achieving so many great things: housing, including rental projects, access to civic services, and so on. All these are covered by the central budgetary schemes for cities, and all of this budget or the money for all of this will be given by the center. Only integration can bring about inclusive urbanization. So only the cooperation between the states and the central government could change the future of India. So both of them should really encourage that. Thank you.